First lecture. Title for today's lecture is Introducing Service Operations Management. I, Dr. Rohan Prabhakar Devale, welcome you all. Chapter objectives for today's sessions are: what are services? Then what is service? What is service operations management and why the service operations management is important for us? So we will start with the first question. What are services? Services come in many shapes and forms provided by the variety of types of organizations, including business to consumer, that is B2C services, B2B services, that is business to business, internal services, public services, and non-profit and voluntary services. Business to customer services are the services provided by organizations to individuals. Example being financial services like from banks and insurance providers, or retail services from the supermarkets and cloth shops. Also, travel services such as airlines and bus companies, and cinemas, gyms, restaurants, and hotels, and so on. A subset of B2C services are those organizations which facilitate communications and service provision between the customers. Sometimes these are described as C2C services, that is customer to customer services. Examples of social networks such as Facebook and business networks such as LinkedIn. Also, video sharing sites such as YouTube, peer to peer games such as Farmville and Cafe World, and buying and selling such as eBay. So, we are having n number of examples for business to consumer services. Next part is business to business services are provided between the businesses. These are services provided between the businesses and include consultancy or consulting firms, office equipment provisions, and support and communication. Also, corporate travel services like business insurance, finance, and some of the legal services as well. Apart from B2B and B2C and C2C services, we are having internal services. These are many sort of formal and informal services that people inside organizations provide to each other. The formal ones include internal services such as personal, IT, HR, payroll, and security services for organizations. Sometimes organizations subcontract or outsource these services, so they are become the part of B2B services. Furthermore, almost everyone working in the organization provides some form of services to other people in the organization, such as writing reports or arranging meetings, taking part in discussion or providing information. These are informal internal services. Now we will talk about public services, sometimes referred to G2G, that is government to G2C, that is government to customer. This covers a wide range of services provided by local, regional, and central government to the citizens and communities. These includes social housing, police, education, welfare, and health services. There are also another part, that is NGOs or non-profit and voluntary services, that include the services provided by various NGOs, that is non-government organizations such as aid organizations like Oxfam, Red Crescent, etc. Other non-profit and voluntary organizations include faith organizations, charities, trusts, and scouting associations, and many small voluntary clubs and societies such as sports club and photographic societies. Finally, we cannot ignore the wide range of services that customers or users provide themselves and each other. These includes personal services we provide to each other like friendship, support services, catering and taxi services, and so on. So these are n number of type of services. We have taken the examples. Now we will talk about customers. It is important to note that all these different organizations often use different terms for their customers. Public services provide services to citizens, and police services has victims and criminals. IT services provides talk about their users, hotels have guests, and radio stations have listeners. We use the word customers to cover all these individuals and communities to which the organizations deliver services. We also use the word customer to cover all the individuals and departments within the organization who provides each other various services, that is for internal customers and also external organizations with which they provide services. For example, police work with social service and the court look out for the vulnerable children. While the children is the recipients, the other organizations need to provide service to each other to help the children. So this is about various versions of customers, and customers are talked by various names. Now next question is, what is service then? It follows then the service will mean different thing depending on the type of service that is being provided. The service provided by your local bar or gym will be quite different to that is provided by IBM to the customer or business customers. When we talk about managers, it is clear that the word service conjures up many different images. For some of it synchronous with complaints or customer cares, or other it is equivalent to logistic function or internal services such as accounting or personal. For others it means 10,000-mile checkup with their cars. The word service is used to describe around 80% of the economic activity in developed nations. It includes the activities of all the organizations listed in the previous section. It is therefore perhaps not surprising that there is as yet no single agreed and comprehensive definition of what service is all about. However, there is beginning of emerging consensus. While a product is a thing, service is an activity. Service is process or set of steps which involves the treatment of a customer or user or something belonging to them, where the customer is also involved and performs some role in the service process. It is also referred to service delivery process. Defined as such, service is much more than a turning point for or of the staff customer interaction. The service encounter sometimes referred to customer contact or moment of truth. We also find helpful to consider service from two perspectives: the service provided from the operations point of view and service received from customer point of view. Now we will see these two approaches in detail. First, we will talk about service, the operations from the operations perspective. Now consider the example of hospital. A hospital is a very complex service organization that employs large number of staff or employees. We use that term interchangeably, so you can call it up staff or employees. From cleaners and porters to highly skilled surgeons, etc., it will care for the hundreds of patients each day through many different specialities or specialist departments, each providing a range of treatment. Managing this type of service operation is extremely challenging. Not only because they are dealing with the life and death situations every hour, but also because of the complexity of the operations. The complexity is in the part due to the volume of patients and variety of wide range of treatments available, but also due to the fact like with many service organizations, hospital comprise many different service operations that must be coordinated and linked together in order to deliver healthcare to the customers. For the hospitals, these include reception services, diagnostics, pharmacy, theaters, that is operation theaters, catering, portering, physiotherapy, and so on. In addition, there are internal services such as information support system, human resource services, training and finance, and so on. Each of these service operations uses and manages many input resources such as nurses, surgeons, drugs, equipment such as defibrillators, scanning, X-ray machines, and facilities such as wards, beds, and theaters, that is operation theaters, and so on. One important input is the customers, that is patients who is gathering treatment, or internal member of the staffs who require IT support or training service, for example. Thus, the hospital has many operations, that is processes, customers, whether they are patients or members of staff. These processes or activities are the services that provide, such as reception services, diagnosis services, heart transplant surgery, intensive care or treatment, or staff catering, IT support, training, and so on. The output of these processes are hopefully cured patients, fed up staff and fed staff and more knowledgeable operators, and so on. Now we'll just look at this figure, that is service provided and received. So from the operations point of view, the service provider is the service processes and its output, which has been designed, created, and enacted by the operations using its many input resources, including the customers, where the customer also take part in the service process. The involvement may be limited. In the case of pharmacy services, for example, or significant for the diagnostic and surgical services, for example, services are therefore co-created or co-produced along with the customers. Thus, occurs. The service provided occurs or is enacted where the operations and the customers meet, as presented by the overlap that is shown in this figure. So we are having the operations, that is various inputs. Those can be materials, equipments, customers, staff, technologies, and facilities. At the service provided end, that is operation processes. At the service received end, we are having customers, so output can be products, benefits, emotions, judgments, and intentions. And in between the operation, that is process or experience, is overlapping of the service providing and service receipt. So this is about service from the operations perspective. Now we will talk about service from the customer's perspective, that is at receiver end. So while a service is the process or activity that we have learned up till now, from the customer's perspective, sometimes referred to it as the customer dominant logic perspective. The service received is their experience of the service provided, which results as outcome such as products, benefits, emotions, judgments, and intentions. The customer's perspective. The customer experience is the customer's direct and personal interpretation of and a response to their interaction with and participation in the service process and its output, involving their journey through a series of touch points or touch steps. An experience is perceived purely from the point of view of an individual customer and inherently personal, existing only in the customer's mind. Thus, no two people can have the same experience at maximum times. Aspects from the customer experience include, you can see this slide. So, it includes a degree of personal interaction, responsive of the service organization, responsiveness of the service organization. Aspect of customer experience include the flexibility of customer facing staff, customer intimacy, the ease of access to service personnel or information systems, the extent to which The customer feels valued by the organization. The courtesy and competency of customer facing staff. Also interaction with the other customers. So this is customers experience. Now we will talk about few service outcomes. So the service outcomes can be products, benefits, emotions, judgments and intentions we have seen in the previous figure. So we use term service outcome to describe the results from the customer for the customer of the service process and their experiences. The key outcome can be products, benefits, emotions, judgments, and intentions. Now we will talk about each and every one. First is product. One key and important outcome is the functional output of the service provided. Products such as food and drink provided by a restaurant, or the ability to delegate on a training course, to construct a spreadsheet, or the new heart for the heart operation patient. Now, next is benefits. The benefits are important to the customers. This is why they have chosen or use the service provider. The benefits of a service are how the customer perceives they have a profit or gain from the service provided, their experience and their experience of it and the products provided. That is how well the requirements and needs have been met. The patients who has undergone the heart operation will benefit from a longer and more active life. The benefit for the students will be better job prospect and higher salaries and new capabilities and skills. The benefit of using a firm of consultant may be reduced cost or greater commercial processes. Next point or service outcome is emotions. Experiencing a service result in the customer feeling emotions of which they are many hundred, including joy, surprise, love, fear, anger, shame, and sadness, etc. In a hospital, patients hopefully experience a well managed stay where they feel ease and assured throughout the minimal pain and inconvenience. A student at university may have an enjoyable and challenging experience with some memorable lectures and seminars and exciting extracurricular activities. A senior manager employing a firm of consultant will hopefully feel assured with increased confidence to pursue a particular strategy. Next outcome is judgment. Another outcome of the service from a customer's point of view will be their conscious or unconscious assessment of the service provider, their experience and the perceived benefits gained. This results in judgment about fairness, that is equity, and importantly the perceived value as the service perceived or service received in the customer's assessment to the service provided. Their experiences and the benefits derived weighted against all the cost involved. These assessment and feelings, conscious and unconscious, will then be rationalized into a feeling of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. That is an emotion. That is an emotion about the overall service as well as individual element of it. Last is intentions. The judgments, good or bad or indifferent, will result in intentions, such as the intentions to repurchase or not, or the intentions to recommend it to others or not, or intentions to complain or not. These intentions may or may not result into an action. It is important to note that in some cases of these outcomes may be related to a customer's evaluation of an component may influence their perception of another. A superb learning experience may help the student better understand the materials and thus benefits from the greater knowledge and confidence. Sometimes they can be contradictory. For example, patient may feel annoyed or disappointed that an outcome of the operations was not successful, or no benefits from them, but may be delighted or highly satisfied with the way it was treated during their operation stay, that is their experience. The outcome outlined here, like these product benefits, emotion, judgments, and intentions from the customer's perspective. There are also important outcomes from organization's perspective. Organization outcomes will be concerned with the meeting the targets and objectives. A hospital may have clinical targets such as waiting times or number of operations carried out and recovery rates. Operational targets such as theater usage and financial targets such as adherence to the budget. To be successful, an operation has to meet both its desired customer outcomes and organizational outcomes. Service operations management plays a vital role in both of these. Now we will talk about products, services, and value. Most, if not all, organizations provide a combination of product and services. The products can be things, services can be activities. A manufacturers of washing machines or cars not only make the machines but also provide sell services and after sell services such as servicing, repairs, etc. Service organizations such as the restaurant or manufacturing, they are manufacturing the foods, and the restaurants would be of little value with it. Consultant provide tangible products, but their main value is diagnostic and adding services. The movement towards thinking a term that complete product service offerings and changing the product based organization business models to the markets and deliver this is often referred to as servitization. One could argue that product versus service is now an old fashioned distinction, and the boundaries between them are now blurred. What is more important to customer, the product or service? What is product? And Amazon, a product or is Amazon that Amazon.com or that website is a product or service organization? The critical point is not the relative amount of product versus the service that an organization delivers, or whether to see it as a product producer or a service provider, but there is a value is for the customer. Take an example of a car. From a car manufacturer's point of view, a vast amount of value, that is cost, is tied up in the product and is paid for the customers, that is value in exchange. But from most customers' point of view, the value is in usage. Having a car allows us to go where we want, when we want, and relative comfort listening to what we want to listen it. Value is created as an experience and outcomes, in particular the benefits, at the point of consumption. Importantly, the customer is ultimate judge of the value. Value is perceived by the customer over the time. We keep the car and we hope that its value in use is at least as good as the price we had to pay for it, though we may often not realize this until the car breaks down. So, this is about the product, service, and value. Now, a small case you can read from the book, that is IBM Global Services, and I will share that soft copy for this case study to you. Go through the case study and you can solve the case study. So, this is about the IBM Global Services. IBM is widely regarded as a successful global service company providing its business to the customers with solutions to their problems. In 2010, IBM had a turnover over $99 billion dollar with a gross profit of over $46 billion dollar. While sales and systems technology and softwares accounted for approximately 40% of the revenue. Its service division, IBM Global Services, generated 57% of its revenue, according to the 33% of the organization's gross profit. So IBM's global services has expanded rapidly. You can see in this figure, establishing IBM as a leading global IT service company. In 2007, global services was split into two reporting divisions, that is Global Business Services (GBS) and Global Technology Services (GTS). So GBS and GTS. GBS, that is Global Business Services, provides professional services such as consulting and application outsourcing services, where GTS focuses on infrastructure services such as computer installation and maintenance services and business process services. Now we will talk about co-production. One of the important, intriguing and challenging aspects of managing service operations, certainly when compared to the manufacturing operations, is that many, through not all, service operations processes the customers. Other service operations processes things belonging to the customers. These are sometimes referred to as the customer processing operations. The theme park cannot physically give you the rides unless you turn up. Doctors cannot give you the injection unless you are physically in the same place. This means the customer experience is intrinsic part of the operation process. As a result, the customer see much of the processes, in many cases plays key role in the process itself, as well as the receiving end. The services is a two-way flow. It is important to note that customers may not see or experience the whole of the process. They will not only involved in the front office. The back office contains tasks and carried out usually unseen by the customers, such as cooking the food in the restaurants or bagging handling in the airport. In a restaurant or train, for example, we also provide services to the customers or to the other customers. In the restaurants, we help to provide the ambience and gentle buds of conversation around the room, and our adherence to formal and informal dress code, which helps to set the scene, that is service scapes. In a train, we keep other seats free for our luggage so that others can sit down, and we refrain from noisy and unruly behavior. So, besides managing materials, technology, people, and processes, service operations manager also have to manage the customer as a resource too. This overlap the process and the customer experiences, together with the direct involvement of the customer in many services, makes the job of service operations management particularly challenging, exciting, and at times frustrating also in few of the cases. Now we will talk about the answer for the question, what is service operations management? So up till now we have cleared what is services and what is service from customer point of view, from organization point of view, and from operation point of view. Now, what is this service operations management? Service operation management is the term that is used to cover the activities, decisions, and responsibilities of operations managers in service organizations. It is concerned with providing the services and value to the customers or users, ensuring they get the right experience and the desired outcomes. It involves understanding the needs of the customers, managing the service processes, ensuring the organization's objectives are made, while also paying attention to the continual improvement of the services. Operations managers are responsible for the most of the organization's asset, for managing most cost and staff, and for generating the organization's revenues. As such, Operations management is the central organizational process and one that is critical to organization success. Service operations managers are often called managers or operation managers, but many other titles are used, such as managing a partner in consultancy firms, nursing the managers in hospitals, head teachers in schools, fleet managers in transport companies, call center managers, customer service managers, restaurant managers, and so on. They may be responsible for managing front office operations as the part of the process that customer might see it as a back office operations invisible to the customers or indeed to both. The back office operations on the exotic island of Barrows in the Maldives involves a wide range of activities such as water treatment plants, industry, catering, etc. All operations managers must have number of things in common. They are responsible for the service operations, that is configuration of services and processes that provide services to the customers. Then they are responsible for some of the organization's resources we refer as inputs in the figure that we have seen previously. That includes material, equipment, staff, technology, and facilities. These resources often account for a large proportion of the organization's total asset. So, service operation managers are responsible for much of the organization's cost base. Next is the operations managers are responsible for the organization's customers. Sometimes customers are referred as clients, users, patients, students, etc. And or the things belonging to the customer such as their parcels or orders. Operation managers are responsible for their processing, their customers or their parcels or processing the orders of the customers. For managing partners in a consultancy firm, this might involve overseeing meetings with clients, data gathering, analysis, and report writing. For the nursing manager, each might involve the overseeing the patient admissions, test, treatment, and discharge. Operations managers they are also responsible for the outputs, the products provided to the customers. The nursing manager deliveries, discharges, recovering the patients together with the prescriptions for the medicines and outpatient appointments. The managing partners delivers the final report and the solution to the problem as a client. Operations management managers are responsible for designing, creating, and providing the right experience and outcomes for their customers. The nursing managers will be concerned to ensure the patients feel well cared and lives in a better condition than how they are in. The managing partners will want their clients to feel informed, assured, and valued, and provide them with some real business benefits. Operations managers are also responsible for delivering value to their customers and also delivering value to the organizations. Value to the customer comes from their experience and what the benefits they are gaining. Value for the organization comes from the operations management keeping to budget, delivering revenues, reducing cost, and delivering the organization's strategy. Just for example, service operations managers are responsible for generating most, if not all, of the organization's revenue or income and managing most of the assets and managing the staffs. So, all the service managers are involved or responsible for these many activities. Now, we will talk about why each service operations management is important for us. Now, that can be divided into various parts. We will start first. We hope now it's becoming clear that service operations managers have an important and responsible role. In essence of the service managers are responsible for managing the designing, delivery of services to the organization's customers. Those are responsible for managing most of the organization's resources. and the managers have a significant impact on the success of the organization. The success of service operations manager is not simply about performing a good technical task such as education to a student or delivering project on time or providing a holiday. Good service operation management should lead to better or more appropriate services and experiences that are better for customers, better for the staff, and also better for the organization. That is triple bottom line. So we just talk about this better for the customers, better for the staff, and better for the organization. So we will see one by one. First, we will talk about better for the customer. Customers will be satisfied, even delighted, if they are provided with the right service, a good experience that and to the desired customers. This delivers value to the customers. A problem for the service manager is that customers' idea of what represents value may well vary for customer to customer or consumer to consumer and shift through the time and even from a day to day. At most basic level, the economizing customers will think of value as getting more for their money. Other customers may be prepared to pay more in the order to receive the higher service specifications. Still, others will value the psychological value in the being able to say that they are able to afford to the customers of high status services. The service operation manager must be aware of full range of influences on the customer's assessment of value. A key element in the understanding is the relationship between service brand values as communicated to the customers and potential mismatch in terms of customer experience. So this is about better for customer. Now we will talk about how service operations management is better for staff. Good service operations management and provision of the right services, experiences and outcomes for the customer will also mean a better experience to the staff. Customers will be easier to deal with because they are satisfied and the service and experience meet their needs. Because the operation works well and generates the right outcomes, there will be fewer problems and therefore less hassles for the staff and fewer that is unpleasant complaints to deal with. Customers will Customers who are satisfied tend to be more tolerant. So when the things go wrong, they are much more accepting than they might otherwise have been. Again, making life easier for the staff. And at last, smooth operations and connected customers means things are going well. The staff are more likely to have pride in both the job they do and the organizations they work for. So this is about better for the staff. Last part is better for the organization. Delivering the right service and experience through good operations management delivers many organizational benefits. Satisfied customers who perceive value from the service are more likely to return and also more likely to provide positive word of mouth and recommend the organization in its services to others, thus generating more revenues, that is assuming it's revenue generating organization, not NGOs or non-profit organization. That is our assumption. The next is better service operations management means improved processes which should be cheaper or more efficient, reducing the organization's cost. Increased revenues or reduced cost will improve the profitability or viability of the organization. Better services may also provide the organization with a source of competitive advantage. Better and more efficient services will enhance the organization's reputation and brand. Delivering the right services and experiences should also enable the organizations to achieve its goals, objectives, missions, supporting the organization's strategic intent. Good service operations management, which think both reactively and proactively, should be able to help shape and develop the organization's future intent and develop skills and competencies that will support the development of the organization. Now we will talk about some economic contribution from the service sector or operations in service sectors. A final and important contribution, but at macro level, is the contribution that services in general make towards the nation's economy. Service activities are vital and significant part of most developing and developed economies. In most developed countries, services account for in excess of 80% of the GDPs and for over 50% of the GDPs in developing countries. They also provide employment for a significant number of people. The challenges facing service organization managers throughout the whole range of service organizations, such as financial institutions, government bodies, retailers, wholesalers, and personal service providers, need to take seriously and managed well to support economic success and development. We can see that from the standpoint of economic value alone, we should pay attention to the service sector and to service operations in particular, as this is where the service and therefore wealth and value are created. Services also have an important economic role in non service organizations. Many manufacturing companies have significant revenue earnings such as service activities such as customer support, and also many service activities internal to the organization such as payroll, catering, information and IT services, etc. Indeed, it has been estimated that around 75% of the non-service organization activities may be directly or indirectly associated with the provision of services. Service organizations provide employment for the vast majority of the working population in most of the developed or developing countries. In many economies, the service sector is the only area where new jobs are being created, notably in leisure or in tourism. Many service sector organizations such as hospitality, transportations and people intensive, requiring different mixes of skilled and unskilled labor. Other organizations such as banking and many financial services are more technology enabled or technology based. Finally, we cannot ignore the vast number of people employed in the public and voluntary services, managing services such as education, health, fire, police, social services, feminine relief organization, faith organization, and charity is required as much expertise as their private sector counterparts. Government are increasingly subcontracting many services to the voluntary sectors that were previously provided directly by state. Whatever the type of service organization, there is no doubt that there is ever increasing pressure to provide high levels of value for money with the same or reducing resources that are challenges in front of the service providers. So now we are coming to the summary part. What we have learned today, we will just have a look on all the summary part. So what are services? Services are provided by a variety of type of organizations include business to consumer services, that is B2C, also business to business services, that is B2B, internal services, that is public services, and non-profit or voluntary services. So this is about what are services that we have learned. What is service? A service is an activity, a process, or steps, unlike a product, which is a thing, which involves the treatment of a customer, maybe user, or something belonging to them, where the customer is also involved and the performance and performs some role, that is co-production in the service process. We will continue with what is service. We have seen two point of views, operation point of view and customers point of view. From the operations point of view, the service provider is the service process and its output, which has been designed, created, and enacted by the operation using its many input services, including the customer, where the customer also takes some part in the service process. From the customer's perspective, the service received in the customer's experience of the service provided and their interaction with it, perception of it, and response to it, which results in outcomes such as products, benefits, emotions, judgments, and intentions. We have seen that in detail. Now, our next question: what is service operations management? If you remember, we have started our lecture with four questions, and this is the third question. The questions were: what are services? What is service? The third question was: what is service operations management? So the answer is, or summary is, the service operations management is concerned with the activities, decisions, and responsibilities of the operations managers in the service organizations. It entails the providing services and value to the customers or users, ensuring they get the right experiences and the desired outcomes. It involves understanding the needs of the customers, managing the service processes, ensuring the organization's objective, whether they are met, or while also paying attention to the continual improvement of the services. Next is, what is service operations? Why is service operations management is important? Service operations managers are responsible, as they are responsible for a large proportion of the organization's asset. They are responsible for delivering service to the organization's outcomes or customers. Service operations managers have significant impact on the success of the organizations. Good service operations management resulting in goods, services, and experiences will deliver the triple bottom line. We have seen in detail what is triple bottom line: better for the customers, better for the staff, and better for the organization. At macro level, we have seen the services are critical part of most of the economies, accounting for a significant proportion of the GDPs and employment all over the world. Now, there are few discussion questions you can discuss. You can think of these answers, and we will discuss in the next class. These questions are: describe the customer experience and outcome for a fast food restaurant, or at the doctor's surgery, and an internet based fashion clothing retailer. Compare and contrast the services of these three organizations. Refer to the figure that we have studied. The second question for discussion is: how do the students assess the value of a university course? So, what value means them? What are the benefits mean to them? How does they differ from the organization's view of a value? Third is, think of a time when you recently received poor service. If service operations are so important, why do you think they sometimes deliver poor services? So these are discussion questions. You can think of the questions we will discuss in next class. Also, few questions for managers: describe your service from, imagine you are managers in any service organization, and these three questions are for you. Describe your service from the both an operational and customer perspective. Assess the mismatch between these perspectives. Then second question, how is the success of your organization is assessed? Is this your approach is appropriate? The third and last question for operations managers, how well is the contribution of the operation understood in your organization and what are the implications? For reference, you can read the book Service Operations Management for Improving the Service Delivery. Authors are Robert Graham and Michael, and the publication is Pearson Publishing.